What's going on, creators? Yeah, just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to talk about balance and how that's really something we can strive for in the present moment, and by in the present moment, realizing that peace is always something to be attaining now. It's not something in the future. It's not something that is reminiscent of the past, but it's something an energy that we can tap into now, and really start to look with without a lot of judgment and maybe guilt or shame on areas that we aren't the greatest at. But be able to not be triggered by it. Be able to look at it just with like a loving lens and go, okay, well, here's what I'm really good at. Maybe you're good at your job or your career, your money game's real good, but a lot of times when you're like really focused in that direction, then like maybe your marriage is shit. Maybe your money game and your career game's like a 9. But then like because you've been working so much, maybe your relationship, your marriage is like a 2 or a 1. Maybe it's your marriage is good, but your kids are off track, and now it's like you can't even like communicate with them anymore, and it's just like this weird energy between you guys, and that's like a 1 or a 2. Or maybe your family's doing great, but then maybe your health is just a shit show. I mean, it's just getting realistic with what's going on in your life and looking at everything as being connected. Not to sit there and blame your upbringing or life situations or some external they're out to get me vibe, the they out there. If it wasn't for the they, then I could thrive, that kind of victim mentality. But like looking at everything as being reflective of your inner beliefs, your assumptions about how life works. Your beliefs on what's possible. All these things are being externalized in your perception. And, once you take ownership of that, you can really start to look at everything and try to, for one, not judge yourself for where it's at, especially when you got these reoccurring like loops that patterns of like maybe you keep getting in relationships with like emotionally unavailable people. And it's like, oh well, my parents were emotionally unavailable, and now I keep getting in these patterns with my relationships with being around emotionally unavailable people. Not to look at that as an accident, but looking at that and it's until it gets addressed, there's a very good chance that you're going to keep repeating these same patterns until you do. And so most importantly, when you notice something like that, is to go within and ask God to help you kind of understand why this unconscious pattern keeps emerging, because once you do, then you're on the path of healing. Keeping that mindset of healing with your life, and not just sit there and just like be too ashamed to look at it, or like maybe something came up and there's like a lot of guilt or triggering emotions. Not to look at that as like, oh, I'm a failure, oh, this sucks, or feeling like there's no hope. But looking at it as, okay, this is exactly what I'm kind of stewarding at the moment. There's some aspects I like. These are serving me well. This feels good to continue this activity or mindset, or that's okay. But over here's a shit show that's just creating this unconscious patterns of suffering and torment, and the feeling of hopelessness and victim mentality, and all of these kind of mindsets that are not serving you anymore, and that are stemming from your old paradigm of reality, the old man, which you are no longer that. You're new, and everything's new. And so in that newness, is a healing that's taking place too. And so if you're finding that your life is out of balance, instead of trying to, okay, well, I'm going to sit here and wrestle it to the ground, and I'm going to put even more of my attention and through my own willpower and my own powers of manipulation and and I don't know, just kind of shelving that old concept, realize that, okay, well, I'm going to be the change first, and that might be hard, when it's like, well, I feel like I always got to be the one that it starts off being nice, or why am I always the first one that has to show attention or care, or all these kind of things. But realize that as you or really kind of putting the pieces together outside of yourself by being the first one to maybe extend love or forgiveness, which is a huge thing, because as you forgive others, you're really in a lot of ways forgiving yourself and forgiving past programming and limiting beliefs and all these things that have manifested in a situation. And God is in control of how all these things are orchestrated in these miraculous ways. I mean, part of maybe like the law of attraction vibe that I feel like is a stumbling block is, and a lot of like the stumbling blocks with the thoughts becoming things rabbit hole, and not saying that they don't, but I'm just from my experience, then it kind of leads to this issue that I had, where it's like, okay, well, I want to control everything going on around me, instead of realizing the outside is mirroring a lot of states of consciousness within, and so it's like, do you walk in front of a mirror wearing this shirt that says I'm blunt, and then like, oh, I want the reflection to say something different, or do you just change your clothes and then walk in front of the mirror again? And so when you're looking at balance and what's working in your life and what's not working, being able to kind of become somewhat detached by going, oh, okay, it's kind of like a mirror, and so maybe my marriage is like a shit show, and that's what's kind of presenting itself in the present moment as an obstacle or like a problem that just needs some sort of resolution. First, when these things happen, realize that it's all unfolding perfectly. You're already blessed. It's like you don't have to be different, for God to love you. God loves you now, and so it's like, the more that you're able to realize that, connect with that energy, and hold your peace, the more that you might be in a state that's open to maybe you start to observe your thoughts, and as the thoughts come in, a lot, you sit there and battle with them, but a lot of times when you do that, you start to strengthen them. But when you're more of like observing them and realizing that they're reflective of the state of consciousness that you're kind of residing in, almost think of it as clothes. Like, you put the clothes on first. Maybe it's it's ultimately one of two things. It's either fear or love. But it's like, as you put these things on, you start getting the symptoms of thought coming secondary after the state, and it's like you can drift into unconscious states, and as a result start to experience unconscious thought patterns, and a lot of times are limiting thought patterns and beliefs that have just basically been thoughts that you've thought for a long time, that have now on some level maybe manifested, and now you believe them, believe it even more. It's like, oh, look at all this supporting evidence. It's like, oh, I believe that you shouldn't trust people, and now it's like, I got all these confirmations of why you shouldn't. It's like, look over here, this is an example why you shouldn't do that. But doesn't mean that is how things actually are. A lot of times, when you're actually putting yourself out there to the general public, maybe it's like a business or something, a lot of like these things, you start to realize that I'd probably say 99.9% of people are good. It's rare that you start to really come across people that can be kind of difficult to deal with, unless you are not catching the pattern with people. How a lot of times that you attract on some level, but it's like, if you are maybe plotting and scheming, or having your mindset in a certain direction, it's not unusual for then people in your perception to start mirroring that. So if you're like, if your faith, if your belief is, a lot of people are just up to stuff, and you can't trust them, and a lot of people are greedy or out to get you. A lot of times that belief will start to manifest and show you in confirmation that that's true, but that doesn't mean it's actually true. When you start to change your beliefs and let go of a lot of this old programming, you drop that internal state first. And then by persisting in the new state, by choosing to be at peace, for example, to choose healing over toxic beliefs and toxic mindsets that are just causing you suffering, once you start to embody that more and more, the next thing you know, people, circumstances, events start to mirror that change in your inner thoughts and your inner assumptions and your inner mindsets. It starts to show you. It's crazy how that starts to happen, but through like the quantum field or the multiverse, or I think those are all just fancy labels, for simulation, holographic, like the what do you call it, the prize in science, I guess, the unified field theories, like Tom Campbell's the big toe theory, combining the science of the very big and the science of the very small, through string theory, all these types of things, it's a lot of it's just all biblical and spiritual, just repackaged with different labels. But for our vocabulary in this time period, consciousness and the quantum field, it seems to fit. But you learn that through knowledge, through personal experience, through the testing. That when you ask and you believe and you receive, and in the new man, you start to see how nothing's an accident, nothing's a coincidence, and things are all connected. And a lot of times, when you connect the dots looking backwards, then you start to see how it all played out. Even though at the time it might seem maybe sometimes frustrating and difficult, or contrary to what the logical mind, how it thinks things should go. Because a lot of times the logical mind, the ego mind, the old self, just trying to keep itself safe from a dangerous world, a dangerous, belief in separation, that, it's a separate thing and everything is separate and nothing's connected, which is in itself the error, because we're all connected, everything's connected in creation. And, that's really on you and God's relationship to understand that dynamic. So many things are laid out in mysteries that become revealed as you start to seek and understand and want to know. But that's all part of balance and part of really making the present moment, part of the destination and the journey becoming more and more connected. And it's difficult at times through the old mind to make peace with the present moment, to accept what is. Not to say that it can't get better and better, because if you're like I kind of sort of feel okay, but I got a nagging chronic pain, and I'm able to catch flow every sporadically through the day, but a lot of the day is filled with unconscious triggering events and stuff like that. Realize that we go from glory to glory, as it gets better and better. And so every day is a process of just getting better and better, getting more of a realization of being whole and complete now. More, relationships, health, all of the big human activities, I guess, start to become more and more balanced, as the things that have been walls of resistance and blocks, and trying to keep yourself safe from others, so you build these walls up and push people away so they don't have a chance to hurt you and stuff like that. A lot of those stuff starts to change as you begin to embody who you actually are, which is love, and it's not fear. But like a big part of that is to in your own self, start to make those choices, because there's always that choice in every moment. Whatever's happening in your perception, you can choose to react fearfully, or you can choose to create and extend love instead. The old man was in a constant state of reactivity. Always, everything's so serious. The new man, lighten up, lighten up, enjoy the flow, enjoy life, trust that God's unfolding these things perfectly. It's only going to get better and better. Everything's is a healing process. Start looking at everything as like you are already perfect now, but it's almost like a tree or plant or something. It's like you're just growing into who you actually are. Constant evolution and expansion, but not looking at the end goal of the expansion, because there is no end goal. It's this constant expansion. So that's why it's really important to start bringing that you made it moment, that the logical mind, the ego mind, or however you want to label that old man vision, we're making that now. So whether that's being in a perfect marriage, that marriage is really important. And sometimes as like a man, it's easy to start to, I don't know, prioritize like providing for your family, because there's the argument, there's like that balance where it's like, well, we need this for the kids and for you and for for whatever reason. So it's like me as like somebody who's trying to provide. It's like, well, there's a balance. I could either work a whole bunch and make that happen, or I can spend time with you guys. So trying to work on that balance and realize that the I guess the main priority is the marriage. So it's like, marriage being the top priority, followed by I don't know how the order, what the order actually is, but I just know that the marriage is like more important, because when that's in dysfunction, it just throws a wrench in everything. And like a lot of times, like I'll hear people like in like maybe like the Neville Goddard community or the laws of assumption or attraction community with like the manifesting like a specific person kind of vibe. And not to say what they're, not judging anybody for what they're doing. Everybody's just trying to feel good and be happy and experience love. Maybe some people are failing at doing that, but that's not their fault. It's like everybody's trying to do. Everybody's trying to experience love and heaven on some level in the physical, and like with that, it's like when the marriage is going good and everything's clicking, there's like kind of like a biblical interpretation, where as like a man, like your role in the marriage is to love your wife the way like Jesus loves the church. And so really learning a lot of spiritual lessons through your marriage, really making that a priority to try. In the old mindset, it's like, oh, I just want this it's really conditional, and it's like, I want this person to be a way that's pleasing to me, and like like, oh, you just want to change them just a little bit, and at the same time, there's a bunch of friction that can start to happen when that's going back and forth. When you're wanting to change the other person, they're wanting to change you, and then it's like, well, why am I not good enough? And it just opens up all of this kind of shit. And like at the same time, it makes you a lot more conscious and aware of others, and like not just being so focused on I don't know, just on self, but like not to say that there's anything wrong with that either, but like it's just like important to even in that, to practice, loving and forgiveness and not trying to change others, and try to make the marriage, better and better each day. That's again all part of the balance, and when there's an opportunity where it's like, okay, do I do a business opportunity or do I do a marriage opportunity? Which one gets my attention? Business comes and goes, but like people that you love, or that's what matters. And so really focusing your attention on the things that do matter, and healing the things that are broken. If your marriage is a shit show, it's easy to start playing the blame game and be like, well, if it wasn't for what your triggering reaction, the one of the easiest things to start to do is to try to stay conscious and mindful, because if one of you is able to do that, it de-escalates a lot of issues that could start to spiral out if both of you are just getting triggered and becoming unconscious at the presence of the other. It's one thing to really start taking ownership of like, okay, well, maybe I'm equally to blame in this situation, and so how about the goal be like we try to be at peace today? How about that? How about we not hurt each other today. Because that can be a big deal. I mean, when you're dealing with like relationships and SPs, like I hear, it's like, my marriage has been really a growing, and it's like we're so different. It's like seeing how somebody completely sees reality in a different way because of their upbringing and just the way they're seeing and experiencing the world and reality itself. And it's just like everybody's kind of like a unique creation, but like keeping love at the forefront, and really checking the things that can cause reactivity, fear of abandonment, loss, and all these types of things. A lot of that can be worked on through your marriage as you heal a lot of those traumas, and just focus on what's happening today, what's happening in the present moment. That's good. Be thankful for those things, because those are already things that you've kind of gifts that you've already mastered, or at least ahead of the curve, because we've all got things to kind of heal and grow on, and not to say that we're broken or anything, but like it's always good to expand and grow and learn new things, learn new skills, learn new habits, and be able to master and seize the day, as some would say. And like I just wanted to kind of ramble, share that kind of stuff with you guys, and remind you how important it is to strike a balance, and not just get so laser focused on one thing that you're super good. Like if you're a musician, sometimes it's really easy to kind of disregard everything and just master that instrument or your voice or anything like that, and you become so focused in that. But then everything else starts to become a shit show, and just everything else. So it's like you got one thing that's going amazing. Meanwhile, there's loneliness, there's people, just another bag of drama. And then it's like you're really successful in this area, that this is like a 9.5, and you're just like at the top of the game, and everybody would think, oh, you must be so happy. And then all of a sudden now you don't have nobody to talk to about hey, most of my day is still a shit show, even though I do have this highlight that's like superior on some level, because there's been so much repetition and practice, and so much love put into it, but not to get carried away and make an identity out of that either, because you're a lot more than what you're doing, what your body's doing. And part of like the new you is embodying a new identity, and it's the identity God created you to have, not the identity that you just created out of your old beliefs and your old man. But embracing the new you, who did God create you to be? Find out, and start really embracing that and living it, embodying it, and embodying the love that you are, really. And so I just wanted to bring that to you guys and share that kind of perspective. I think I'm gonna bounce. It's been real. I appreciate all you guys' attention for this song. Appreciate you guys liking, sharing, and subscribing, and all the social networking things. And until the next now, have a good rest of your day and night and present moment, and God bless.